Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the program for this Thursday edition. It's the cloud-based edition. It's cloudy down here in beautiful Homer, Alaska, but we are ready to go for another day of great discussion and commentary. A little bit different today. We're going to start off in a non-political vein. Can't wait to do that. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But in hour two of the program, we're going to be talking with MatSu Mayor Edna DeVries, who, of course, as you know, is now running for governor. The governor's race heating up hot and heavy with up to 9 different candidates on the Republican side. Due to the jungle primary and the ranked choice voting, Mayor Edna DeVries is going to be joining us to talk about her run for the governor's office in hour two. And she'll be here for the whole show to kind of go over with us and talk about that. So that's happening in hour two. In hour one this morning, we'll get the chance to talk to some old friends. Ann-Marie Murrell. I don't know if you know who Ann-Marie is, but she's been a journalist and a commentator, an editor, media producer. She used to appear on my program quite frequently back in the day when I was broadcasting strictly in Anchorage. And she came on and, we talked, politics and everything else. But her life, and we'll find out about this more, but her life had some real changes. And, she had some challenges in her life. And then, of course, she's had to start taking care of her mother. Which led to a whole different path than where she was going. And we're going to get some details on that. She's written a new book called Walking Each Other Home. And it talks about caring for her elderly mother and offers some insight and some guides and to anybody who's dealing with that, especially if you're dealing with a loved one who may be suffering from, Alzheimer's or dementia, which, as we know, is all too common these days. And so we're gonna dive into that right now here in hour one. In fact, let's get to it. She's hanging out in the green room doing her thing here. So before she eats all my virtual donuts and drinks all my virtual coffee, let's bring her on the program. Ann-Marie Murrell joins us right now. Hello there. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah.
It's been too long.
It's been hot. I went back and looked at our messages and realized we hadn't talked in 3 or 4 years. It's been quite a wild ride for both of us between now and then. We've all had lots of things going on. And so I would say how you've been, but obviously you've written a book about how you've been and things have been going on. So, Ann-Marie, as I said, was a frequent guest on the program. And she would come on and just, kind of give us her take on the hot news of the day and, political stuff and everything else. So this seems like a completely and total change. So what's been happening with you outside of that? I mean, what's going on, Ann-Marie? Tell us a little bit about your life and who you are and where you came from.
I grew up in Texas. I left when I was 20 to go to California to be an actress. And I ended up having a pretty pretty good career. I wasn't, I wasn't did a lot of bit parts and commercials and different things like that. But my life was very self-focused. It was all about me building up my life, building up my career. I had the beautiful house on the hillside in Southern California. I had, I guess you could say, I had everything on the outside that anyone could possibly want, but there was always something missing. And when I went home one year for Christmas in 2017, actually, almost simultaneously while I was there, my parents were both diagnosed with dementia, my stepdad and my mother. And I was faced with a choice: either stay and help because my sister worked full time and couldn't, or go back and keep living the life I had. And I prayed about it and was given a clear answer, and I stayed and
Right.
left every single thing behind. Anything that didn't fit in a U-Haul didn't come with me. and I changed my life, and I finally put God and family first, probably for the first time in my life. And it was it changed my soul. And
Yeah.
I was honored to follow the fifth commandment and honor my mother and father. And I did until the end of their lives. But yeah,
Yeah.
I lost a lot of the stuff and the
Yeah.
career and talking to you so often.
Right.
But what I gained was better than anything I could have ever
Yeah.
imagined.
That's the thing. I mean, is it a loss or is it just a change? That's the thing
Right.
is that, maybe you lose a little bit of the fame and fortune, maybe you lose a little bit more of the notoriety, but at the same time, something that's deeper and richer and, something that, if not me, then who kind of thing, right?
Right.
That,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I think a lot of us kind of face that, at some point in our lives where we may have to face a fork in the road and a struggle and understand where things are going. And, a lot of us are now facing, parents who are getting older and things like that. And there's going to be questions. How do we help with that? How do we deal with that? How do we contribute? How do we take care of those things? And it's a huge struggle for, I think, a lot of people.
It is. It is. And it's kind of like balancing your checkbook. You're not taught these kind of important things in school or even in life. Nobody likes to really talk about the fact that we're all going to get old. Our parents are going to age out. Our parents are someday going to need help from someone. And most kids we don't want to think that. We don't want to think of our parents as ever being needy or needing something more than just giving to us all the time. So that's the main reason I wrote the book, because I kept a journal the entire time, and a lot of people were asking me for advice about how to even know when it was time to start caregiving elderly. Your
Right.
grandparents and a lot of people are caregivers for their spouses. So
Right.
yeah, so that's why I wrote it.
Yeah. So, walk me through here, how do you what was that like? I mean, again, giving and I don't want to say it necessarily as giving up your life, but you in
Yeah.
some ways you had complete and total changes, right? So how
Yeah.
did you face that? I mean, how did you deal with the idea of I had a dream, I had a goal, I was going in this direction, and then I discovered maybe that's not where I ultimately wanted to be. How did you deal with it? How did you prepare for that?
Prayer. I was on my knees a lot. I needed a lot of guidance and discernment. I'd never been really a great daughter or sister or mother or really anything. Oopsie, these things fell out. Sorry. Um, to really kind of start from scratch. Can you still hear me?
I can. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, good. Yeah. I just I spent a lot of time in prayer, kind of constantly. I needed discernment. I needed to know there were so many things that came at me and there wasn't a lot of time to learn. So I had to I got an elder attorney to help me with important things like power of attorney and knowing medical and financial, and making sure that everything legally was set in place for me to kind of take over their lives. But yeah, there were some very sad times in my book. Pretty much chapters 8 through 11 are very, very difficult to get through. My father had a really horrible downturn. He became violent. I had to separate my parents. My mother moved in with me, and his ending was pretty brutal. It was during COVID. He was in a lockdown facility. I couldn't watch over him, which is vital if you put anyone in a nursing home.
Right.
His death was horrible. But then my mother, I bought a house, and I made sure that every moment that she lived at the end of her life was joyful, and we had wonderful times together. It's almost like raising a toddler. She became more like a toddler, and in the end, she was like an infant, changing diapers. But it was joyful. I was so glad to be given the second chance to come home, and I was the prodigal son that left, only daughter, and
and I can't imagine you're dealing with this. We're talking with Ann-Marie Murrell, author of the book Walking Each Other Home. And I just can't imagine, because again, you're dealing with all this stuff, and at the same time, you're dealing with the fact that your parents are now that you're the parent and they're the child kind of thing, right? That kind of situation. And yet at the same time, you're dealing with the day-to-day struggles of that and still having time to, I had somebody explain to me one time that with Alzheimer's or dementia, you're literally grieving the loss of your parents while they're still there, because they're there, but they don't know you. They don't remember. They don't, they don't recognize your face. And he said, so at the same time, he's like, it was like they didn't know me, and said, so it was like I'd already lost them, but I'm still taking care of them, kind of thing. That's got to be, that's just got to be the roughest thing ever.
There were some really sad times, but when you think about it, like with toddlers, they have to be taught everything, but everything is also new. And mom rediscovered things like bluebirds, and every day was kind of an adventure. Some of it was sad and difficult, but for the most part, I keep saying joyful, but it really was a joy, a privilege to be able to walk her through this part of her life and share with her. Whether she knew me or not, that was kind of secondary. It didn't really matter. I knew her, and after being gone since age 20 and coming back, I was just so just grateful every single day that I got to know her and my dad before they left and went to their home in heaven.
It's again, this is one of those things where I'm trying to put myself in your place, and it's a hard thing, and we all worry about our folks, especially as they get older. And this is definitely kind of the ultimate, worst case scenario for a lot of people, but it's happening day in and day out. Alzheimer's and dementia is a big thing in this country, and more of us, around there with their parents and things like that are having to deal with it. So this is a good opportunity to talk about stuff that we don't normally talk about, because again, it's not something that's covered in polite society a lot of times, because it makes people uncomfortable to have to think about that, to have that self-analysis. So Ann-Marie Murrell's our guest. We are up against the break. We're going to continue here in just a second. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't forget, Mayor Edna DeVries is up in hour 2. Meanwhile, we'll continue our conversation with Ann-Marie here in just a moment. We'll be back right after this. Don't go anywhere.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we are in the break with Ann-Marie Murrell. It's just you, me, and 50 of our closest friends on the internet this morning, Ann-Marie. So it's a good opportunity to get down and chat about stuff. Anthony says in the chat room, he says, the stuff, the career, the money are all impermanent in the lens of a finite few seconds we spend here before eternity. You can't buy or trade your own spiritual quality. Good for her. And that's the truth, right? I mean, you got certain things that you just got to do. Jeannie says, you don't have a choice. She said, my husband and I lost our parents, both our parents, from 2012 to 2016. And then my husband passed from COVID in 2021. It's a life changer.
Yeah.
And that's, it is. It's, it is. I can't imagine. It's the definition of life changing as well. And so now here you are in a whole new world and a whole new change. I mean, I remember she was Ann-Marie. If you've been listening to the show for a long time, you remember her. She was a Spitfire, and it was all about, the commentary, the politics, and all that kind of stuff. And that complete and total change is, I mean, it's a little startling, to come to that. Tell me about the revelation, the moment that you realized I might be on the wrong path. Right. I mean, you were doing good stuff. You were doing good things. But tell me about that revelatory moment where all of a sudden it was the light bulb went off and you went, wait, maybe this isn't what I need to be doing. Tell me about that moment.
Yeah. After my mom was diagnosed after Dad with dementia, and I was packed and ready to go back to California. I moved them out of their house into an independent living facility. I thought everything would be fine. They could stay there forever, or if they needed to be moved to assisted living, that would be the next step, and so on until the end. But after Mom's diagnosis, they were no longer able to live in the independent facility that I moved them into. They needed a lot more help. So that night, I got on my knees. I never got on my knees as growing up. That was not anything. I was a Methodist. We didn't really do a lot of knee praying, but I got on my knees and I asked God. I said, I need a clear sign. I want to go home, but I'm going to listen to you. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. I was hoping maybe the sign I got from God would be, go back to California. They'll be fine. But I was given a dream. It was a dream or a vision. It was so real, so visceral that I woke up instantly, completely changed. It was like Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas morning. And it's been that way ever since. Every morning now, I wake up joyful, ready to get going with my day. I'm grateful to be alive. And it was instantaneous for me. I woke up, I knew exactly what I had to do. I went back, got the U-Haul trailer, came all the way back here, and I've been here ever since. My mother passed in 2022. So for the last 3 years, I've had to refigure out everything again. But I don't know if you know this, Michael, but last year I was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment too.
Right.
So I also have early onset Alzheimer's. I wanted to be sure. I had some signs and symptoms. I wanted to be sure, but my neurologist, I failed the in-house neurology test, so she sent me to a neurologist, and I was diagnosed. So, but the good thing is I'm going to be the first person in my family to know I have this ahead of time. I have gotten all my legal documents in order. I have my power of attorney over medical and financial. My will is in place. Everything that I own, you can find clearly marked in a couple of boxes in my shed. My kids will never have to struggle the way my sister and I did.
Right. So you've prepared for it. Yeah. Which is, that's always the thing, is when it hits you out of the blue. This is some poignant stuff, and I can't wait to continue here. We're about 20 seconds out now from rejoining the radio. Ann-Marie Murrell is our guest. And Ann-Marie, you can find her. She don't have a website quite up yet, but you can find her on Instagram and on Facebook at Ann-Marie Murrell. Here we go. We're jumping back into it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do it.
public enema number one. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number one, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
That's not true. I'm a lover, not a fighter. All right, let's continue on. Ann-Marie Murrell is our guest, former political commentator, activist, producer, actress. I noticed on your book here that our old buddy Kevin Sorbo has given you a little blurb for your book. Walking each other home offers practical advice along with personal stories that are sometimes funny and at times heartbreaking, and there are even a few miracles. I highly recommend it. So it's good to see some of your friends jumping in there and giving you some kudos on this. What inspired you of all this stuff that's going on and everything that's happening in your life and all the things that took place? Did you feel the need to chronicle? Is that why you wrote the book? I mean, you said you kept a journal every day. Is that why? Is this just to share it, to inspire others? Why did you write this book?
I posted on Facebook. That was kind of my only outlet for a long time because caregiving can be very, very isolating. And my mom couldn't handle me talking on the phone. It made her nervous. She thought it was doctors and that I was hiding phone calls from her. So my only really way to express myself other than prayer was through Facebook posts. And so people started asking me questions. What do I do? How can what do I need to look for? And I wrote in my journal every single day. I've always journaled since I was a little girl with the little lockup diaries. I had almost 500,000 words by the time that both of my parents passed. And I turned it into a book. I just started writing and it was another release. I co-wrote two other political books. This one I felt like it could actually really help somebody. And then when I was diagnosed, I decided to kind of rush it to publishing for my own kids as kind of a guidebook. And if you don't learn from the tips and tricks, then at least learn from my mistakes, because I put the mistakes in there too. Some of my mistakes, it's so easy to misstep and to go a different direction when you're kind of winging it, when you don't really know. I was a terrible cook. I didn't know how to balance my own checkbook. And I ended up managing a VA account and my parents, 3 different accounts for my parents and 2 for myself. So that's the kind of stuff I wanted to share with other people so that they maybe don't have to wing it. And there are lots of caregiving books out there, right. But this one is kind of biographical and it's also autobiographical and it's also caregiving tips and things that healed me, things that helped.
What was I mean, I'm sure that there were lots of highs and lots of lows. You talk about going throughout life and going throughout every day with joy. And then of course you just talked about the problems with your father and things like that. But what overall, looking back, what was the hardest part? What was the hardest part of the whole journey of taking care of your parents from the time you took over to the time that they passed? What was the toughest part?
The toughest part was my dad, when he became violent. And it wasn't him, it was his. I mean, he was the most gentle one out of both of them. My sister Lisa and we assumed mom was going to be the crazy one. She was the high school teacher who would throw chalks at kids if they didn't listen. She was always feisty and dad was always very gentle and so sweet and calm. And then he ended up, he was on a walker, so he couldn't really hurt anybody, but he was going into people's rooms and it was rough for him. The way his disease took such a downward turn. He had to go to a psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks because he couldn't go into another nursing home facility because he was deemed violent. So the part with dad was brutal. It was very hard. I'm still learning to forgive myself for some of I couldn't be both places at once. My mother needed help in her own disease, and dad was kind of left to his own devices once he was put into a lockdown nursing facility. So that part was horrible. His death was bad. He was skeletal when my sister and I were snuck into his memory care unit to when he was dying. His room was filthy. He couldn't find the bathroom, so he was just going wherever he could. And even with hospice and a very, very, very expensive memory care facility, no one was helping him. And so that part was very hard. And I didn't even want to put that part in the book because it was so hard to write and relive.
Right.
But it's there.
Well, I mean, that's the dirty truth. That's the thing. That's the problem when it comes down to that. You mentioned this all took place again, and your dad, you were talking about being in during COVID. And of course, this was the darker side. I'm not trying to get too political here, but this was the darker side of the COVID lockdowns, was that people were left alone. They were left to their own, but they were isolated. People, passed away. They wouldn't allow loved one. You just said your sister, and you had to be snuck into the unit because, of these mandates and craziness like that. Talk about how hard, talk about that component of it, the COVID component with both of your parents. I mean, since you were dealing with both of them at that point.
Yeah. Well, my mother and sister, my sister Lisa moved, she was in our house too. So she was with us. They both got COVID. I didn't, but I was taking care of them both kind of 24/7. My sister ended up in a hospital for 2 weeks. Mom was not great for a while, but she recovered pretty easily. But by the time I got them both on their feet, I had pneumonia. And so it was hard for us in our house, but I can't even imagine what my dad was going through in those. He was only in that unit for less than 2 months before he died. And that was after leaving the psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks. And then he went there within the first month. It was when the whole world shut down. So the guilt I have, Michael, is because you know me, you know the way I was before. If I called out people on the right and the left, I was a fighter for our country. I was a journalist. I researched everything, and I was frozen with fear. It was like in a horror movie when you're watching it and you see someone about to go outside after they hear a scary sound, and you're sitting in your living room saying, "Don't go out there, you idiot. What's wrong with you? Fight back, do something." That's what happened with my sister and me. We were frozen. I didn't take pictures. I didn't take pictures. I didn't chronicle things like that. I had to block it out. I had to put it in a compartment in order to stay strong in my house where I needed to be. So again, my father died. His false teeth were gone. Couldn't find, they just lost his false teeth. So he was skeletal. He'd been starving. No one was feeding him.
Oof.
It was horrible. It's still hard for me to talk about. And it was in 2020. It was 5 years ago.
Yeah. No, it was a crazy time, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of that for sure. One of the things that, I was looking through some of the points here about the book and things that are going on, because I haven't read it yet. But what does it mean? You talked about the scripture, of the fifth commandment of honor your mother and your father, honor your parents.
Yeah.
That when they don't know who you are, when they can't remember you, when you're a stranger, when you said like they got the paranoia of who are you and why are you talking to me? Why are you talking on the phone? And why are you taking my stuff? And, I can't imagine the challenge of that has just got to be unreal. So what does it mean to you to say honor your parents when they just don't know who you are anymore?
Yeah. I'll just keep likening it to a toddler. I became their teacher. Especially for my mother, because I spent a lot more time with mom than I did dad in the end through his disease was, again, brutal. Mom's was more gentle and sweet and funny. She remembered me most of the time. She remembered my sister and me most of the time until the very end. And then she didn't remember anything. But I mean, she didn't know how to read anymore. She almost had a doctorate in English. This was a brilliant woman. And to see her decline was hard, but she didn't know. So every day for her was there was so much grace with this horrible disease, Alzheimer's. There's still a lot of grace because she was unaware. She didn't know all the things she was losing. So it was up to my sister and me to give her new memories every day, to make sure that she saw sunsets and sunrises, and that we took her places as much as she could until she wasn't able to travel anymore. The last 6 months of her life was very difficult. She ended up having COPD. It was a result from COVID. And COPD is actually what killed her. So she was on oxygen. In the very end, she was an infant, couldn't speak anymore. That's the progression of this disease too. You lose all the ability to do kind of everything. And then one day she just went to bed, she went to sleep, and 9 days later she passed. So there were difficult days, just like there are with toddlers when she was going through her terrible twos with sundowning. But then it's also, she was a child and I was her mother. We swapped, and I was grateful to be there and do that. And I thank God that he brought me back, that I was shaken out of my me to God and family. And I'm not even on the list sometimes. And that was fine for me. Needed to happen.
And you talk about that moment of faith. During the break, I asked you, what was that revelatory moment? And you said it was when you got down on your knees. You were about to go back to California to rejoin your life and go back to the glitz and glamour of, commentating and all that. And you said you asked for a clear sign, and you had a dream that night, and you woke up the next morning completely changed. Tell me about how your faith it changed at that moment and shaped the experience from then to now.
Yeah. You could probably ask my son and daughter-in-law how it changed, and ask my sister Lisa, because and almost anyone that I grew up with out here. I'm back with my high school friends, and I'm not the same person in any direction. My son and daughter-in-law lived in California. I hardly ever saw them. We were kind of on our own islands. When I moved out here, they followed me. They were never going to have children. And now we have two. I have two grandchildren. I'm a nana now. And we all lived together after my mom passed. I had this house, and my sister moved to her own place. And so my kids moved in with me. And now I'm the most blessed mother and grandmother in the entire world, as far as I'm concerned. The stuff that I left in California, it's all stuff. Nothing is important. Nothing is as important as God and family. And it is literally a joy every single morning that I wake up and I'm still here in this beautiful place.
Ann-Marie Murrell, author of the book, Walking Each Other Home, A Caregiver's Journey of Grace. We're going to continue here with her in just a moment, because this is advice that I think a lot of us need to look at, whether your parents are suffering from, some kind of mental decline or not. We all are going to be facing that, because a newsflash, none of us make it out of here alive, even your parents. And I think you're right, to see people that you expect for your whole life to be strong and always be there, and then to see this point and realize that they're as mortal as the rest of us is an eye-opening experience. My father had a stroke in 2017 and 2018, and it was a change for me, because all of a sudden here's a man that I expected to be, I guess, always there. In the back of your mind, you're like, oh, they'll always be there, no big deal. And it's a change. And so I want to go over some of the lessons that are learned and what we can find from that. We're going to continue here with her here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with Ann-Marie Murrell in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we're in the break with Ann-Marie Murrell, and we're being joined by you here in the chat room. I see David has said, he's saying the part that I think all of us know. One of the worst parts of the COVID pandemic was when parents and loved ones had to die alone in a hospital. And it was, there's stories. I have personal friends who had parents and spouses who, again, they could not go in and hold their hands in the last moments. They could not go in, or if they did, like you, they had to break the law. They had to break the rules. They had to get somebody to sneak them in there. And that's despicable. It really is despicable.
Yeah.
People were put through that. It is one of the darkest times, I think, in our country's history, that's the kind of power that was exercised against people who just wanted to help their loved ones in their final moments. I just can't even imagine what that must have been like for many of them.
Yeah, it was that one of the things that I would say, if anything like that ever happened again, break down the door. Don't wait for someone to sneak you in. Just risk going to jail if you have to, but do not leave them alone. I'll if anything like that ever happens again, I'll get back in politics and I'll go protest. I'll do whatever I have to do. But then I don't even know how many other elderly people died that way. On my dad's death certificate, it said died of dementia / Alzheimer's, but that's not what he died of. My mother died basically of COPD, not dementia, which was also a result of COVID. So I don't know. I just pray to God, thank you, Lord, please don't ever let this happen again. Don't ever let us be so sheepy that we just stay inside and give up and assume that there's a good reason for it. If there's not, I don't think there was.
Fearful. Sheepy, but fearful too, right? And there's a little phrase that says, "I did not give you the spirit of fear, but the spirit of faith." Right. And that's what I think we fell victim to. And you are not alone. Brian said, that was me with my daughter. To have to go through. I can't, my brain just locks up when we go over that. So he said, I was fortunate that I had an in with a few people at the hospital. That's, and for every one of people like Brian that were able maybe to get in and see, there were, again, stories of people who were literally on the outside looking in and couldn't do anything. And that's the crucial part here that is horrible about this. I'm just scrolling backwards here to see if there's any other comments that I want to share with you. Yeah, Rick says, COVID, what a dark spot in American history. It's true. It's a deal. Anthony said, he said, "Oh God, you should get a civilian medal for dealing with the VA. They have professionally made dealing with them a miserable experience for me as a veteran. I can't imagine a normal person having to deal with them out of the blue." That must have been quite an education.
Oh, it was. It really was. I highly recommend getting, having someone. I had an elder attorney who helped me through a lot of that. I strongly recommend, if you're brand new at this, and especially if you have to deal with things like the VA, because she helped me with paperwork. She helped me make sure that all my I's were dotted and my T's were crossed. So that was a big, giant help. But yeah. And there's not a lot of help. The only time that they could actually use the VA was when they were both in assisted living. It doesn't help you when they just have dementia or they're in independent living. And it is insanely expensive. It's almost, of course it's supposed to be nursing care and you can understand a lot of the expenses, but I don't know how people do it. And looking back, I don't even know how we did it anymore.
Well, and you talk about your father and his condition at the end and the way he was treated. And yet that's a facility that costs thousands of dollars a month. And yet he's starving and can't find and feces and everything. And yet you just got to look at yourself and go, I'm paying for this. We're paying for this. How is this right?
Well, one of my dear friends she's worked in nursing homes. She's managed nursing homes most of her life. She said that the worst thing about her job, after many decades, is when people think of it as like an animal shelter. They drop off their family member and they're kind of like, okay, I'm all done. And they leave, and they'll come back and visit on holidays, maybe, and they don't follow up and they don't check on them. That is criminal, because even if you drop off a dog at a shelter, go check on the dog. I don't know. You don't leave someone else in someone else's care, your loved one in the care of a stranger. You don't know those people. You've got to follow up. One more thing about COVID.
We're 10 seconds out. I got to rejoin.
Yeah.
You can hit me with one more thing on the other side here. So get to it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like and share. Like and share.
It is.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
That's right. Not your daddy talk radio. Not your daddy's talk. I'm not your daddy, nor do I play one on TV. All right, we're back. Ann-Marie Murrell is our guest. Former political commentator, actress, editor, chief journalist. I mean, she had all the bells and whistles. Now she's an author. Well, she was also an author then, but now she's an author of a brand new book called Walking Each Other Home, which chronicles her journey of taking care of both of her parents with Alzheimer's and dementia during COVID, of all things. And it's just been crazy. And we were just talking about how this is, this was a very difficult thing. And you wanted to share one more thing before I get into the next section here, Ann-Marie. So hit me with what you wanted to share.
I just wanted to say one more thing about when my sister was in the hospital. I was calling there every single day and telling her, do not let them put you in a ventilator, because she was overweight at the time and it was hard for her to breathe anyway. So anyway, that was all. But I mean, they kept trying to put her in a ventilator. And so that was all. That was.
During the break, we were talking about the difficulties of COVID with that and people who felt that. Ann-Marie, what are people going to, what are you hoping that people take away from this book? What are the lessons learned? What do you want people to hear from this as they go through and read it?
Don't wait until chapter 1 in my book is don't wait till the funeral to get your house in order. Don't wait till your parents both have dementia to figure out what they want. And parents, if you're young, even if you have kids that are like toddlers, get your house in order now. Make sure you have a game plan, because people keep saying in the comments, and actually Ambassador Mike Huckabee wrote something for me in this book, and he said, we are not promised another minute. We could be gone today. Is your house in order right now? If you were gone, if you passed today, are your kids going to have to take on the burden of all your stuff, of knowing what to do with it? Are you going to fight over the stuff? If that's even a question, if the answer to that is yes, talk to your parents right now. Find out what they want. Don't wait until they can't tell you anymore and then try to figure it out yourself. And parents, the same for you. Don't make your children do that for you. That's why my house is in order right now. I'm 63. If I'm gone tomorrow, everything is ready. Right. That's a brutal thing to think of, but none of us are going to survive this. We're not going to survive life.
Yeah,
none of us.
Nobody makes it out alive, right? I mean, I guess Enoch was the last guy to make it out alive. So you guys just can, do your thing here. You mentioned it earlier. You are now showing signs of early onset dementia. And I got to be honest. My wife and I had a conversation about this here. I don't know, a few months ago. We were talking about stuff, and to me, as a person who values, my mind as probably one of my greatest assets. What I can think of, and the idea that I would start to lose that is probably the most terrifying thing in the world to me. So as you face this, somebody who's brilliant, who's intelligent, you've done a lot of great things, and to walk me through, you've obviously prepared for the real world things. You talked about getting a lawyer and your will and getting things settled, but in your mind, I mean, how do you deal with that on a personal level? What do you, and now that you've seen the other side of it, you've taken care of both your parents, Walk me through what your thoughts are on that and how you're dealing with that.
My grandmother, Bertie Lee, on my mom's side, she had Alzheimer's. Her brother and sister had it. I've been since learning that there were a lot of other cousins on my mother's side, cousins and aunts and uncles who also died of Alzheimer's. That's the main reason why I chose to get tested, because I also have multiple sclerosis and I also have COPD now. And so many different things have happened in my life. The thing is, I'm not going to allow any kind of fear in my life. It's biblical. Fear is not of God. Fear is a really monster. It's the what ifs and the dreading and everything. Those worries are all not from God. So I'm choosing to live my life free of fear. I know that if this happens, if I go down that path, I'm going to be taken care of. I'm going to take care of myself as long as I can. And then when I start showing signs, I'm going to put posters in my room all over my walls and just say, you have a disease. It's not your fault. You're not going crazy. You are crazy. Whatever I have to do to remind myself in ways that my other family members weren't able to do. So I'm prepared. I'm happy. Everything is wonderful. I live every day just grateful to be here, no matter what comes. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, we've got to, again, it's something we got to deal with, right? I mean, it's coming one way, something's coming one way or the other. We have to walk through this. Overall, the blessings. Let's talk about the blessings of what came out of this.
Yeah.
So, lots of.
I just read
Go ahead.
I just read a comment. It says, "Sounds like she needs to stop going to the doctor." You are right.
Yeah.
And the drug that I was taking for multiple sclerosis, Ocrevus, it's a twice yearly infusion. The number one side effect is that it weakens your immune system, especially the upper respiratory system. Last year, I had double pneumonia. I was in the hospital with double pneumonia in intensive care. I got bronchitis probably 20 times last year before I was diagnosed with COPD. I can no longer take any drug. I can't take any memory drugs because you can't take them with COPD either. So I am, for the first time in decades, completely pharmaceutical free. I'm not taking anything for MS. There's nothing I can do for the rest except inhalers. And I use nebulizers when things get rough, but I am doing all kinds of homeopathic things now. There's no point in seeing doctors right now because the only thing they could do is give you drugs, and I can't do that anymore.
Right.
So you are right, Joel McKinney.
Joel, stop going to the doctor when it's all said and done. But I was just saying the blessing. You go through the dark times, and we've talked about a lot of heavy stuff here in the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, sorry, y'all.
No. I mean, it's something we have to face. We're all going to have to face. So what is the blessing out of this in the end here?
Yeah. Whatever I thought I had in California was absolutely nothing. It wasn't even the sprinkles on the sundae. I am living the full meal now. I am living the breakfast, lunch, and dinner and all the wonderful things of life. I am just so overwhelmed with blessings that I almost feel like I'm not worthy of this. And I'm not. It's God has given me so much. And we all have the same kind of blessings in different ways. And some days you have to look a little harder to find them, but every day, no matter what, even when I was in the hospital in January with pneumonia, I was still, every time my eyes opened, I was just like, well, thank you for that.
Right.
It's just,
thank you
what else can we do?
Right.
How else can we live?
This is the day that the Lord has made. You should rejoice and be glad in it, right? I mean, it's just every day above ground is a great day. Yeah. This book, Walking Each Other Home, A Caregiver's Journey of Grace. We have the book. You also have a journal, and you have a devotional. So talk to us about the three. They're coming out, or they just came out. So tell us about each of the 3 books, and then where do we find them? We've got about 3 minutes here.
Okay. Oh, you can get them online anywhere: Amazon, Walmart, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. The devotional, I was all finished writing, and I was like, oh, good. I was working on this for 8 years. I'm finished. But then there were things that I had to edit out of the book, and I figured I would write a devotional so that I could share some of the scripture that really got me through every single day. And I ended up with 365 pages. So one journal one journal entry a day. And yeah, that's all available online. You can go to my website, Ann-MarieMurrell.com.
Okay. Ann-MarieMurrell.com. 2 L's. Murrell.
Yes. 2
Ann-Marie-
R's, 2 L's.
2 R's, 2 L's. Ann-MarieMurrell.com. And again, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. And again, it is the Walking Each Other Home, a caregiver's journey of grace, also a journal, also a devotional. And we're down to the last 2 minutes here. So let me just give you the floor, Ann-Marie, in case there was something I didn't ask or something you wanted to share. Share your heart here. 2 minutes with the audience, final thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm trying to read the comments. There's so many beautiful things that you guys are saying. Thank you. Don't be afraid to talk about the really, really hard subjects with your kids, with your parents. Parents, a lot of times they'll assume that their kids are going to be fine. They can have whatever they want and just kind of leave it all up in the air. Parents, don't do that. Don't do that to your children. And kids, go through your parents' house, put your name on the bottom of things that you want and don't want. If you don't want 500 cookie jars, let your mom know that. I didn't do that. My sister and I ended up with a lot of cookie jars that nobody wanted. Let go of all this stuff. It's just stuff. Anything that's going to cause someone else a burden, if you disappear today, let it go. Let it go.
Just let it go. She's just let it go. Yeah, I sang. I love it. It's a first right here on the program. You got a chance to do it.
Yeah.
Well, again, this is a difficult topic because nobody wants to face the fact that they're mortal. And whether that's self-analysis or analysis about your parents, it's a tough time for sure. Ann-Marie Murrell, again, Ann-MarieMurrell.com is where you can go. You can find her book on Amazon. Walking Each Other Home is the title. I recommend you go out there and get yourself a copy of it. And we appreciate you coming on board. It's great to talk to you. It's great to catch back up. Thank you for being with the show today.
Thank you, Michael. It's always a pleasure.
Right. Hold on a second here. Don't go anywhere. Folks, we got more coming up. Hour 2 dead ahead. Mayor Edna DeVries, our guest. The Michael Duke Show. All right, Ann-Marie. We typically just offer one final bite at the apple here. Just again, you, me, and 60 of our closest friends on the internet hanging out for a second before we let you go. Just anything else you want to share with us? I mean, I think people really appreciated, from what I'm seeing in the chat room here, people really appreciated your story. And I like that. Any final thoughts here before I let you go?
My book it's got some really hard parts from chapters 8 to 11 is the dad parts. But again, if you can't learn from my tips and tricks, then learn from my mistakes. Read it. It was hard to write. My sister came in one day when I just finished killing dad for about the 15th time, and I was broken. And I told her, I said, I don't know if I can share something like this. This is so horrible. It was horrifying the way he died. But she said, tell them that. Tell them how horrifying it was. Tell them how hard it is to share this. And I actually wrote almost verbatim what she said to me that day. And there's still, after dad dies, it's a book of joy. And the whole book is a book of redemption. It's a book of the prodigal son, daughter, coming home and being given a second chance to put God and family first. And I'm just grateful.
Well, what an amazing journey. And it's great to catch up with you. And I'm glad you reached out to me. Thank you for reaching out to me with this, because this is important. And we'd love to visit with you sometime again in the future. So thank you for Thank you for coming out and sharing with us and opening up your heart. I know that's not always easy to share with everybody in the world, your deepest, darkest fears and joys and everything else. So thank you so much for coming on board.
Of course. Anytime, Michael. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, chat.
All right. Again, the book is called Walking Each Other Home, A Caregiver's Journey of Grace. Ann-Marie Murrell joining us here on the program today. We appreciate you, Ann-Marie. We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
All right. Thank you. Ann-Marie Murrell. It's, that's a totally different conversation than what she and I used to have in the past. Lots of good stuff. And again, one more shot there with her mom as she goes through. Just precious stuff. All right, folks. I see that Mayor Edna DeVries is in the chat room, or in the green room rather, and she's ready to go. We're going to dive into that. Let me bring her on board real quick, and we'll test her audio before we get started with hour 2. We'll bring her on right now. I see she's muted herself. Mayor, can you unmute yourself and we'll just test your audio real quick?
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Boy,
You may
it was
want to.
interesting. Your previous guest.
Oh yeah.
Something we all need to deal with, but we all shy away from.
Yeah. No, it's a scary topic for most of us because again, we think we're immortal. You may want to pull if you're using a laptop or point your camera down just a little bit more because we're cutting off the bottom of there we go. Now you're more centered.
Okay.
Yep. Now we can see your chin. So that was important. Your chin. All right. So you sound good, look good. Everything's good. I'll put you back in the green room. Don't eat all my virtual donuts. Okay. Those are
okay. All right.
All right. We'll be right back to you. Mayor Edna there in the green room with us. Yeah. That's not a story or a topic that is comfortable, but that's one of the best interviews I feel like I've done in a long time because it's important. It is important. And like I said, when my dad, who's here in the chat room with us today, I think still, had his stroke, that was eye-opening for all of us, all the kids, all his kids, and life-changing. And, it makes you think about a lot of stuff. So it's, anyway, good stuff, good stuff. So, all right, we are getting ready to jump into hour 2. Miguel says, parents, leave your children detailed instructions in the will or trust. Yeah, and take care of that stuff before you need to, right? Before you need to do all that kind of stuff. Terry said, when my husband passed, I made the decision to celebrate our lives and not spend my life mourning him. We had a great, crazy life, sometimes flying by the seat of your pants. What a life. So grateful. And that's fantastic that's the tack that you can take on that. It's a thing. Where does Ann-Marie live? She lives in Texas now. She's back in Texas where her parents were. That's where she is originally from. And Joel said, my folks tried to give me all the silver. I'm like, yo, Pop, split it the 4 ways. I don't need that grief. I already have received my father's blessing. I mean, isn't that right? I mean, I got what I need, right? I got what I need, which was the love and the affection and everything else. That's about right. That's about right there when it comes down to it. Okay. All right. I think I'm all cut. There's lots of comments in there. You guys can all go back and look at all the comments and see everything. There's lots of good stuff in there. All right, Mayor Edna DeVries, we're getting back into. I almost feel like I don't want to jump back into politics. It was, that was such a touching and poignant story there, and such a timely interview. But let's get back to it. We gotta do what we gotta do here. We're going to continue. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Here we go.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find links to our audio-only live stream. Also links to Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, where we simulcast the radio show every day, and live around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station, and or FM translator. Thank you, my friends, for coming back on this Thursday edition of the show. We just finished up with Ann-Marie Murrell, author of the book, Walking Each Other Home. It was a poignant, it was a great interview. Great. If you missed it, you'll want to go back and listen to it on the podcast, which is available on Spotify if you want to go find it there, wherever you get good podcasts as well. Hour 2 of the program today, we're diving into it. We need to jump on, and we're going to go back to politics. We've been talking about the gubernatorial race. Things are starting to heat up. We're 13 months away right now from the primary. And of course, because it's a jungle primary, that means there's a lot of contenders out there. Looks like there will be up to 9 contenders once Adam Crum and Treg Taylor jump in the race on the Republican side of the ticket. One of those contenders is Mayor Edna DeVries, who joins us this morning to talk about her run for governor. And we're bringing her on the program right now to discuss it. Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. I saw on Facebook yesterday that Bruce Walden had declared, I don't know if he's included in your 13 or not. He ran, I think, 2 or 4 years ago. So
right. No, I hadn't heard about him. So that must be a new one. So that's another, that would be, then you add again Adam Crum and Treg Taylor, and that would make for 10. On the Republican side, I know that there's 1 Democratic contender out of Fairbanks, so that makes 11 on the ticket right now for the jungle primary. And I'm sure that there will be some last-minute additions, but this is a crazy, crazy time we live in. So let's get started here, Mayor. For folks who don't know you, don't know about you, give us a little bit of your background. You know who you are, where you came from. Give us that info.
Okay. Well, currently I am mayor of the MatSu borough, which is the second largest population borough in the state. We have 117,000 people. The MatSu borough is located about 40 to 50 miles of Palmer, the headquarters of the borough, outside of Anchorage, for those that don't know very much about Alaska. Previous to this, I served as mayor of the city of Palmer, and I started in politics in 1971. I had just gone through a divorce and lived in Palmer, and the whole borough population at that time was probably about 10,000 people, 1,500 people in Palmer. And the only job I could get was treasurer for the city of Palmer. I took that job at that time because it was a job available to me that I could take and do from at home, which was 3 blocks away from my house, and provide for my 2 children. So that started it down that line. Since that time, I've had over 30 years experience in real estate, both developing as well as selling and as a broker. I've taught at the community college. MatSu Community College is called MatSu College now. I've taught at Charter College in Wasilla, and I've taught at Alaska Job Corps, Don Young's Alaska Job Corps here in Palmer for a number of years. So all of my education teaching has been on the secondary level. My husband Noel and I have a blended family. I remarried 13 years after I had my divorce. My two children were all grown at that time, but Noel, even though he's a couple of years older than I am, had younger children. And so we ended up with his son to raise. And so we did that. We have 13 grandchildren and 4 great-grandchildren. My son and Noel's son both live here within 5 miles of our house. So we're very blessed in that. Over half our grandchildren live here. And just a year ago, we had a grandson's wedding in Tennessee, and we were able to get all the family together. So that was a real blessing. And as I said, currently I am the mayor of the borough here, and been an active member of the Republican Party, served as National Committee woman, served as a state senator from this area. When I was state senator, it was called the Donut District for those old timers. And that included Seward and Whittier, Cordova, Valdez, Nikiski, Hope, and all of MatSu, plus South Anchorage. So that's the area I served when I served in the state Senate. Yeah. I think I'm pro-life. I am pro-Second Amendment, very limited government. For the MatSu borough, we are what we consider statewide for state legislation, a second-class borough. So there are limited powers that we have. I am, as I said, the mayor, so I chair the meetings. I sign the legislation. I have veto power. If there is a tie on the assembly, I vote. The assembly hires a borough manager, a borough clerk, and a borough administrator or manager. And so they do the day-to-day operations. I'm not involved in hiring and firing. I don't do any of those administrative things. The borough manager does, who is Mike Brown, retired colonel, and does a very good job on it. So,
well, it's
and then 6 years ago, we formed a thing called a School of Government, where we've been training and both young and old people about exactly what government is. So I'm sorry.
No, that's some good stuff there. I mean, that's some great things. Now, again, you've had a big, long, full career, everything else. You got grandchildren and great grandchildren. You could be out there. So I guess my question is, and this is one of my favorite questions to ask candidates, especially for offices that they've never held, is what exactly did you lose your mind? Why would you want to then jump into this governor's, or this big contentious, especially at a time right now when the state is in, this is not going to be an easy term for any governor. Why would you do this? What was the impetus to throw your hat in the ring here?
Well, I have a strong belief in God. I believe that He directs us, and I believe, and personally, politically, that the MatSu borough has done some really outstanding things in the last 4 years that I've been mayor. Whether it's election integrity, whether it's growing, we're the only growing borough in the state of Alaska, and so I think there's some examples we have here that I would like to see implemented around the state. And you're exactly right. Financially, it is not a plum right now to be governor. And it's just the opposite. When I served in the Senate in the 80s, we had money galore. That's when we set up and in fact, at that time, you could donate to a candidate and get reimbursed, I think was up to $100. And so many programs like that. Then when I finished my term in the Senate and I ran for lieutenant governor and I lost that race. And so I was out of politics. And then that's when oil went down to $8 a barrel and people were leaving the state like, rats falling off of a sinking ship. And so I have not had the opportunity to serve on a statewide basis where money has been tight. But in limited government, my philosophy really is it's not the time to grow government. And I think that's been one of the successes that we've had, as well as listening to people here in the borough. And I think that's one of the reasons that we are increasing in population and people want to come. The MatSu Borough has a great memo mission called The Best Place in Alaska to Live, Work, and Play. And so that is constantly before us. Every ordinance, every resolution, we think about those things. And I think we've been able to implement that very well.
The timing, though, is this, you just decided that this is, because it is a tough time, this is why you decided to jump in the ring? Do you have solutions for what we're facing here in the state?
I believe we do. And I believe, and the other thing is in the MatSu Borough, we're termed out. I just started my second term as mayor. And so I'll be termed out in 4 years, which 2 of those years until I would become governor. And of course, as you know, the present governor is termed out. So it is an open opportunity. Then also on the national level, in all my years of experience and time that I've been involved in government, I've never heard the President of the United States have such a love fest and have such desire to assist Alaska in doing exactly what it needs to do. And so for that reason alone, I think is really good. And then also we have been involved in the MatSu Borough developing the Port McKenzie. 4 years ago when I was elected, Port McKenzie was a bad word. People were talking about just let it decay, give it away, don't do anything. And today, it is a growing concern. Last year, we almost completely broke even on it. We've just received almost an $8 million grant for an on and off ramp that we are going to solicit bids here in the next few months for that. The week before that, we had in the West Susitna area, there are 2 very active gold mines. The one gold mine brought in their international board from New Zealand and Australia, and as well as New York. And we met with them. They currently are exchanged on the New York Stock Exchange as well as the other company. This company is called Nova, and the other company is U.S. Gold. Both of them very active. Everybody knows what the gold prices are. And so they've just about 8 months ago started diligently regarding developing and finding and digging mining on their property in West Susitna for antimony, which is one of the top 50 rare minerals in not very available in Alaska or United States, but we've been getting it from China It's used in bullets. The Department of Defense tell us they are getting low on the bullets. So it's that, all the way down to protecting your cell phone from being scratched. So antimony is a big thing. We're waiting now for them to receive a big federal grant and then with that, their second phase in developing and using that grant, they will develop a refinery at the port, and Donald Gold is interested in accessing that refinery. So lots of good things that we have been able, I believe, in the MatSu Borough to duplicate throughout the state of Alaska. And so that's really what motivates me.
So taking the successes that have developed in the MatSu and applying them to the statewide level, essentially,
Right.
at that point. Right.
Yeah.
Mayor Edna DeVries is our guest candidate for governor here in the state of Alaska. We're going to continue here in just a second. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll return with Mayor Edna DeVries. We're going to talk particulars of monies and fiscal plans, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to continue in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, we are in the break right now. Mayor Edna DeVries, our guest. We're taking questions here from the chat room as well. To see what folks have to say. David says in the chat room, no mask mandate in the MatSu Borough during COVID. That was a great decision. I mean, the MatSu was one of the few that stayed open. The MatSu and the KPB were the two that stayed open during that whole thing, and that was a great point. It said, Miguel says 2 questions, actually. When will you be up in the interior to answer many, many questions? And when will you begin to travel to all the cities over the great state to do that?
Okay. Right now, I have plans to go to Ketchikan and down into the Kenai area, but I'm always open for invitations to travel wherever. I've talked to people on the phone in all of those areas and including out in the bush area. And so I would need to take and just find out, somebody say, hey, come here, let's talk. We can do it on Zoom. We can do it in person. I'm ready to go anytime. There's some invitations or 5 or 6 people, 3 or 4 people, or 100 people, whatever.
Right. Just get the crowd together, build it, and she will come, is what she's saying, essentially. Get it
Amen.
out there.
That sounds good.
And she'll come to do it. Edna, again, I think it's, you've been kind of talking about, again, taking the template of the MatSu and applying a lot of those ideals, maybe not one for one, but taking those ideas and putting them in the state. And I mean, I, for one, am always find, if somebody's done something, find out how they did it and then duplicate it. Right. That's, that's always a great idea. And I think, rightly so. You've highlighted, I know Kevin McCabe's been on the program a lot, highlighting a lot of the pluses in the MatSu. Why do you think that the MatSu gets that? Why do you think that the MatSu is doing the right, and yet other boroughs seem to struggle with some of the same kind of decisions and some of the same kind of things? Why is the MatSu getting it right?
Well, I think the one thing, as I said, the MatSu borough is second-class borough. There's many other second-class boroughs around. And so we are very, very restrictive regarding staying within those coloring borders. And one of the other things is I was thinking about coming on today that I sort of wanted to stress. When I took over as mayor, as I said, I'm chairman and I run all of the borough assembly. And up to that time, as well as now, there still seems to be a lot of concern regarding people being able to testify either on ordinances, resolutions, or even under audience participation. And so when we started my first couple meetings, I set some guidelines. And when I say this to people, they sort of frown and they say, people would actually follow that. I think when you respect people, whether they agree with you or don't agree with you, and you give them a chance to voice, that they respect you back. And so my ground rules, these are not in code. They are just, I told them what I expected. I told them that audience participation would be G-rated because we are online and we don't know the people that are listening. They have children there. We do have a lot of children that come because we honor the children. We honor a lot of proclamations for whether they won a state basketball championship or the Eagle Scouts or anything like that. So that was one. The other was, just as I said, respect the person and allow them to speak. Even if you don't agree with them, no booing.
Right.
If somebody finishes their testimony before the assembly, there can be light clapping to support them. And there's no shouting out from the audience regarding, oh, shut up or whatever it would be.
Right. All right. Hold the line, Edna. We're about to rejoin the radio. So let's get to this. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
Well, we're continuing now. Edna DeVries is our guest. She's a candidate for governor here in the state of Alaska. And we are getting into the nitty-gritty now. This is where the rubber meets the road. Edna, we're facing some challenging times in the state of Alaska. So the governor's 10-year projected revenue forecast says the next, 3 or 4 years are going to be very tough. We are potentially facing a $1 billion to $1.5 billion shortfall this next year alone in revenues for what the state has already committed itself to spending. And so my question to you is, how do we pay for all this? How, what is your plan to get, because you'll be in charge of the budget, you'll have to create a budget and do all that kind of stuff. What is your plan to try and fix this deficit? How do we pay for things? And what does it mean for the PFD, et cetera? What's your overall fiscal plan here?
Well, I will use a very familiar term, Doge, to many of your listeners, I'm sure. Whether we will call it Doge or not, I don't know. So the final days before I am elected in November of 2026, I will release a list of people that will be investigating the state government for streamlining the state government. One of the things I hear right now, as you know, and all your listeners know, that you can Zoom meetings. It's not the best as compared to being face to face, but the travel budget, it can be. There's be lots of limitations on the travel budget. But I think the Doge idea, I'm also going to take a page out of President Trump's playbook and have all of my commissioners and, of course, by that time, Lieutenant Governor also, all chosen and ready to go. And we will open up the cabinet members, the commission members, discussions with me just as President Trump does. I know there are people that don't like certain things of President Trump, but he's done marvelous things as far as I'm concerned regarding the state of Alaska. And as he sets those examples, I want to follow through with those examples. How much money is that actually going to save us? I don't know. But again, going back to the MatSu borough, where we have limited government, people would, I think, quite a few people in the borough would like us to have police powers. That is not a power that we have. We could go to the people. I probably would think that the people would say yes, but that would save our current mill levy is a little over 8 mills. That would add another 4 to 4.5 mills to our budget. So if your property tax right now is $1,000, your property tax would go up to $1,500. I don't think the people want us to do that. We are continuing to put pressure on the state to fill the state troopers positions that are vacant. But I think the streamlining of the government is one of the major things. And there's not been audits in many of the departments on the state level. All of the things I'm saying, I don't mean to say anything bad about the current administration. As you know, Governor Dunleavy is from the Valley. I supported him when he ran for school board. I supported him all through the years. In fact, just recently had a private meeting with him regarding some more of what the economic development can be in the MatSu borough and how we can move forward on that. So I know that's a pretty general, and I can't say to you, okay, in the budget on page 43, line number 7 is not going to be, $3 million. It's only going to be $2.5 million. And I think that would be foolish of me to try to do that as an outsider looking in.
One of the big things that we talked about, some easy finds in your Alaska Doge kind of thing would be, the unfilled positions, funded but not filled, right? FTEs. We've got hundreds of positions in the state that are funded but not filled. The legislature obviously had no interest in this last year. It was brought up by several of the MatSu legislators that we could cut, and we could cut millions of dollars by doing that. And the majority said, no, we're not interested in that. Just keep giving them the money. So that's another choice there as well. You talk about cutting our way to prosperity. Now, I'm all for that. Don't get me wrong. I think that is a fantastic idea. The problem is it's $1.5 billion. So that's a heavy lift. If we were talking about a few $100 million, we probably could get away with it. But $1.5 billion, I mean, some stuff would have to be cut. I mean, that's not just efficiencies. That's cutting whole programs, right? I mean, that's cutting things out that we're ready. So are you ready to take the slings and arrows on something like that? We saw what happened to Dunleavy when he tried to reduce the budget by a mere 8%. Could you imagine having to try and cut $1 billion out? You're going to take some serious heat.
Yeah, yes, you're absolutely right. There would be some heat going on in the kitchen that I would have to be able to. So that is why I'm not going to make any, I'm going to cut this department or I'm going to cut that department. Right now, to be perfectly honest with you, I do not know enough about how do we get, say, the Department of Social Services over this backlog of SNAP applications and meeting the needs of our people. I don't know enough about that in the budget. That's what the Doge will be involved in. And also, just to put a little bit more emphasis on it, is I'm very supportive of the gas line. In fact, just a month ago, the counselor from Japan came to my office to talk. We've had a sister city from the Palmer side involved with Japan for many years. He and I talked about that. Then we started talking about the gas line. As you know, as of that time, Japan had not signed on the dotted line. So when he was there, I pushed a blank piece of paper across my desk and I said, you could sign right now for Japan to be able to be a part and purchase our gas. And he just laughed and I laughed because I knew he didn't have that power. But when he got ready to leave, he said to me, he said, we have met with mayors around the state. We've met with legislators. He said, outside of the governor, He said, "You are the most enthusiastic person for the gas line that we have met with." And so I think that is one of the things, as you know, the money's not going to flow from that gas line for 2 to 4 years. But that's something on the horizon, to be aware and take advantage of some of these things. I think, as I talked earlier about West Susitna, getting that road in to be able to get those products, that there's a coal mine out there also, that because one of the biggest problems we have in Alaska is the cost of energy. We have met with, on the borough level, with data centers that would like very much to move to Alaska because of our temperature. But they have to have cheap energy. And so there are some things along that way. And each department, as far as the overall cutting, that is on that end, we will do with the Doge, as well as there are other areas I'm sure that we are not capitalizing on, not pushing quick enough on some of these projects, be able to get some money back in. There's some projects going on in the North Slope, as you know, that where the government, the U.S. government, is not the major benefactor that the state of Alaska is. We need to look at that. We all know the problem regarding South Central energy needs. We need to be really working towards that. And you're right, it is a challenge right now. If in 2 years we have a similar legislature as we do now. But again, to me, it goes back to the respect that you have for each other. There certainly will be times we will cross horns, and I will be stymied, and hopefully I'll be able to stymie them. And the following up on that, from our School of Government, we're very much that we tell the people there are 3 equal branches of government. And right now, in my opinion, the judicial is the one that is sort of the head, just having all kinds of influences on many of the areas that it should not have influence on in our state government. And there needs to be some action taken regarding that.
3 big things, of course, we're dealing with in the legislature right now. Obviously, education funding is a big deal. Now we've got defined benefits that they're talking about. And of course, the PFD is the crux of all this, because the PFD is being used to fund all that. Alaskans are essentially being taxed out of their PFD. Right. How do you propose to protect the PFD as the governor? Because you can't add to the budget. Once it's in the hands of the legislature, you can only veto. And what about this education funding issue? Because they say they're coming back. We know they're coming back for more, even though we have had, our statewide, our numbers are nowhere where they need to be, even though we're funding it almost to the highest in the nation. So how are you dealing with that? What are your thoughts on the PFD, I guess, first of all? Should it be protected? Should we be changing it? Should we be tapping it? Because potentially this year could be the last year of the PFD. If we're $1 billion behind, it's the only readily available pot of money to fund from. So what do we do to protect the PFD?
Well, I believe that we should follow the state law. And I did put this on Facebook, and somebody said, well, good thing you're not a constitutional attorney. And that's probably true. I feel that the decision that the court system made back under the Walker administration, it was a ill-conceived decision. And so I believe that should be overturned. And how exactly that's going to happen, as I said, we need to get back to the 3 equal branches. We need to have some guts in the legislature to challenge some of these decisions on the court side, as well as in the governor's office. And again, as I said, I've been a strong supporter of Governor Dunleavy's all the way along, but I need the governor has a pulpit and it needs to take and be pretty strong regarding that. So again, that's not an immediate fix, but that is something that's in the future as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and again, the problem is it's where the legislature goes every time. I mean, because I don't think you can cut out $1 billion without some real pain out there, and people have become so dependent on the state. The PFD is just the easy grab, and the governor can't really. We've seen Dunleavy. He's put a full PFD in his budget,
Right,
but
he has.
he doesn't say how to pay for it, right? So then he leaves it to the legislature, and it's in their court. And unfortunately, you've seen what they've done. They've cut it down and cut it back. How do you propose as governor to help protect that and keep that clawed back here?
That is true, and I would follow suit with that. I would take and put the full PFD in the budget, and I think developing our resources, moving forward on those. And again, they aren't overnight fixes, but they give the people hope in the state of Alaska that things can change and will move around and change. As you said, government has become the answer to everything. I've often kiddingly and laughingly said, in Alaska, we don't have any professional sports team, so we have government. And so everybody clamors on, and we find that every day at the borough that, well, I have this, project I'd like to do now. Would the borough be willing to, give me $100,000, $50,000, whatever? And many times we, and almost all of the time, have said no. And so that's going to be squealing. We're going to hear the squealing. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Whether we're going to be able to get down to being able to do just cuts without anything else. I am not in support of an income tax. I am not in support for a sales tax in the MatSu borough. Again, sales tax borough-wide has been on the ballot a couple of times, and people have said no. Right. And so if people say you're going to cut, then they're going to have to be able to come alongside me as I cut and give me that support. And if they don't, then I'm going to be out there standing by myself, just exactly what we saw 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what we saw with Dunleavy. All right, we're going to continue. Edna DeVries is our guest candidate for governor. We will be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Dukes Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Dukes Show.
Okay, Mayor Edna DeVries is our guest here on the program. Yeah, they hate this show. We're gonna continue here. We'll change gears just a little bit. I mean, again, we saw what happened with Dunleavy when he tried to make the cuts.
Right.
I mean, he had a lot of horsepower. He had a lot of firepower when Donna Ardwin was there with him.
Yes. Right.
Trying to, fix the state. She was essentially she was like the precursor to Doge going through that and stuff like that. And then we saw some of the business as usual crowd get brought into his administration because of the fear factor, I think, more than anything else. And she was let go. We were on the right track, but he didn't get the support that he needed. I mean, that's part of the problem, is that as a governor, you are dangling out there in the wind, right? You are alone, because if somebody doesn't back you up, you're, although it's a strong executive, it's a strong executive branch, one of the strongest in the country. Right. You still can't do it alone, right?
Right. That's absolutely right. And when other times when I've been discussing this, I have sort of jokingly, but very serious, said, well, when Donna gets done with the Kennedy Center, which will be in a couple of years, I will hope that she'll be unemployed and she'll be ready to come back. And one of the other people that was involved in that was Tuckerman Babcock. He was one of my aides during the time I served in the legislature. And so there is going to be some things. I remember very well when Governor Hickel was elected to his second term, and he went in with a local man, Don Tanner, Yukon Don, and removed everybody from the boards and commissions. And there was screaming at that time. And he did all new appointments for that. So house cleaning isn't exactly a beloved sport, I don't think, either probably in the physical or in the governorship regarding cleaning house. And so people are going to have to be serious. If they say to me, okay, we want cuts, we want to live within the budget that we have, and we want this department looked at or whatever, we'll be very open to that. We will have that already on our agenda, but they will have to step up to coming out. It's we the people. That's the government we have, right? Is we the people. And if we the people sit on the couch and just say bad things to the TV and don't do anything about it, again, going back to our school of government, since that time, we have a conservative school board here in the Valley. We have a conservative assembly because people just like that. When I was mayor of the city of Palmer, we listened to 17 hours of testimony regarding why we had to have the mask or why we didn't want the mask. And the council voted not to allow the mask. That ordinance was so restrictive that for the city of Palmer, the assembly or council members that brought that ordinance forward restricted the mask to both inside and outside all the areas within the city of Palmer. And plus the fact that the store owners couldn't call the police department to have the people handled regarding violating an ordinance for the city of Palmer, that the storekeeper had to do it. So it was so horrible. But we listened to 17 hours of testimony and let people talk, and it was stopped. And as you know, as you said earlier, our sales tax revenue departments in the city of Palmer and the city of Wasilla were very happy to see that, because people wanted to be able to get out, and so they came to the Valley, and so it was an economic boom to the Valley because we had that freedom. But you're right. You're gonna hear the squeals all the way around the world.
They'll be squawking for sure. You talk about cleaning house, and maybe I should save this but I mean, one of the things, Brad Keithley from Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets, a weekly guest on the program, and he's talked a lot about the Permanent Fund Corporation Board and how it's not staffed by professionals. It's mostly political appointees, not people who really understand investing. And we're so far behind the power curve, even just compared to the S&P 500, if all we did was peg it to that, we'd have $120 billion in the fund instead of 80. Is that something that you would support, would be to clear that out?
Absolutely. And I read and try to devour as much as I can from his weekly charts. He would be and I will say this publicly, even though I haven't talked to him privately, he would be a permanent person to be able to bring on our staff and or just as an advisor. He has such wisdom.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
Okay, we're continuing with Mayor Edna DeVries here. We got side. I made the mistake of asking a great question right at the end of the break there. So let me re-ask the question here, Edna, because we were just talking about it. You mentioned during the break that clearing out boards and commissions is not always popular, but it's needed sometimes to shake up the establishment, to get the bureaucracies out of there. You need to clean house and take out whole boards and put, if you've got the power as a governor to do it, you should do it. And I made the mistake of talking about Brad Keithley, Alaskans for Sustainable Budgets. He comes on and talks about things like the Permanent Fund Board, where it's basically filled with political appointees, not people who are truly experts in investing and things like that. And he showed how if they had just pegged the fund to the S&P 500, we'd have 40 or 50 billion dollars more in the fund than we have today. And you said you agree, and you said Brad would have a special place in your heart and in your administration.
Amen. Yeah, if he would come forth, and if he doesn't want to be too public about it, if he just wants to give me policy ideas, but he is spot on, and he is not the only one that I've heard from regarding the Permanent Fund Board. And I think we've all read and seen the headlines regarding some of the conflict of interest on that board. That shouldn't be. That should be handled directly and quickly regarding any of those things. And in my administration, that's what will be done. Ethics and integrity are high on my personal qualification list for anybody that's going to be involved, either boards or commissions or staff in my administration. And so that integrity, you got to have that integrity in order to be able to meet the people's trust. And I believe the people then will come alongside you because they can trust you in doing those things, and that you will take and be able to accomplish the things that is on everybody's heart and make Alaska great again.
Yeah, if we had $120 billion in the permanent fund instead of $80 billion, we wouldn't be having a lot of the challenges that we have now. Now, government's still too large, but it would at least would soften the blow of having to try and cut some of that back if we had some of those monies. I mentioned the education fund because again, they're coming back again this year. But they're not. They don't want to talk about any policy. They just want more money. They got $700. They were looking for $1,900. I imagine they're going to be pushing another $1,000 increase. What's your position? And that's this session, so you wouldn't be governor. But what's your position on education funding and where it's at? Do we, should it be tied to outcomes? Should it be tied to policies and things that need to get done? What's your position on it?
Yes, on all of those. You're absolutely right. I'm 100% behind what the governor's trying to do with this special session and the rumors I see and read, and I'm sure your listeners have too, that there's going to be an end run around that. And that's too bad, because if we don't face some of the hard decisions that need to be made, our children, grandchildren are really suffering, because the ones that are not getting the education are not going to be able to fill the jobs that we are going to be making available on the refinery, on the pipeline. If they can't read and write, they're not going to be able to fill those jobs. And that's going to filter all the way down to our grandkids and our kids, and even our great-grandchildren. I have great-grandchildren that are now entering high school. And so they don't live here, they live in Texas, but they need to have that equipped. And so I'm 100% behind what Governor Dunleavy right now is trying to do regarding the policy change. And again, that's going to be squealing regarding, as you saw, and probably many of your listeners read, our charter schools in Alaska, and most all those charter schools are in the valley because we have choice. I know right at first I'm not going to be able to do this, but in my end product to me, by the time I would be done with my first or second term, would be to have that money following the student.
Right.
And I know that's a radical idea to a lot of people, but it needs to start being discussed. That's one of the reasons the VA program, what I think for higher education for the people that have served in our military, which we're very thankful for their service. And so we allowed them to take that money and go, whether they wanted to become pastors or whether they wanted to become electricians or teachers or attorneys or whatever they wanted to be. We said, okay, this is your money and this is what you've earned and this is the way we thank you. And so I'm glad that program is there and it is available. But if they would have said, okay, the only place you can go to is Harvard or the University of Michigan or someplace like that, the program wouldn't have been as successful. And so to me, that's a shining example of what we need to implement in our education. And you're absolutely right. The legislature is going to continue to claw for more money.
Sure, that's their nature. We're down to 3 minutes here, and so I got a real quick question before I give you a chance to sum up. But I know, your age is going to be an issue in this race because you're old, you're in your 80s, and so
I am.
what's your response to people who say, "I think you're too old for this"? Because again, 4 years, 8 years. I mean, what's your take on that? What is your response to people who say, "But you're too old to really take this on"?
Well, I hope after today's interview, they can see that I have lots of life left in me. I understand a lot of the situations and the challenges in the state of Alaska. I have not shrunk back from that. And kiddingly, I say, age is one thing you can't run away from. I can change the color of my hair. I can put glasses on. I can get cosmetic surgery to lift my face and many other things I can change, but age I can't change. And so I embrace that age. I bring with it the age, I think brings wisdom. I don't know if I ran, as I said, in the mid 80s for lieutenant governor at that time. The wisdom that I have right now regarding how to handle people, how to listen to people, and how to accomplish things and how to get to the end result of making Alaska better comes with that age and with that years. And I'm not on any medication. All my body parts are still the same. I don't have any knee replacements or shoulder replacements.
You don't have an auto pen, so it's all good. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah.
Don't worry.
No,
Quickly, Edna, how do folks find out about you? We're out of time. How do folks find out about you?
www.ednadevries.com. I have a number of Facebook pages, Edna Armstrong DeVries and elect governor, Edna elect governor for governor on Facebook. On the borough website is my cell number, which is my both.
Okay.
And if you can call that, and I'll give you my.
We're gonna take it out from there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Sorry, I was up against the break. I want to give you the final bite at the apple here, Edna. Don't walk away.
Okay.
I just want to say, this is your chance to summate because we kind of ran out of time there at the end. Excuse me, but your final thoughts here. Anything we didn't hit on? Your final pitch to the people out there. Folks can send them back to the podcast, or they can come back to this video and they can watch it. So your final pitch to anybody out there, Edna DeVries, candidate for governor. What's your final pitch to the people as to why they should vote for you?
I appreciate the opportunity to meet the people and to get to know the people. I will be traveling around. You will see that I have lots of vitality, lots of good ideas regarding how we can make the state of Alaska great. and I'm open to your comments, and I will work with you. I'll respect you, and I'm looking forward to Alaska has a great future, I believe, and we can turn it around so people will want to come back to Alaska, and I'm willing to team up with all of you to see that happen. Great days ahead for Alaska, and let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's get it all squared away. All right, Edna DeVries, again, you can find her on Facebook and on the internet. Edna DeVries, our guest for today, candidate for governor. Thank you for coming on board. We look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thank you for the invitation. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. All right, folks. Well, that does us for today. We are out of time, and we got to rock and roll here. Get out of here. Got stuff to do here, and people to see. So let's get to it. Just remember to be kind, love one another, live well. Tomorrow's Firearms Friday, and we'll see you. We'll see you then. Let's go. Have a good day, my friends. We'll see you.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.